You ever just stop and think about how wild language is? Seriously, we make these noises, we write down these little squiggles, and somehow they connect to the real world. But how? What's the magic trick that lets our words actually hook onto reality? Well, get ready because the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein came up with one of the most brilliant and honestly mind-bending answers to that question.
So yeah, this is the big one. It sounds so simple, right? But it's a puzzle that has kept philosophers up at night for centuries. How does the word apple actually relate to that crispy red fruit in your hand? Wittgenstein's answer starts by doing something pretty radical. He completely changes how we think about the world itself.
And here is where he just flips the whole table over. See, most of us, we think the world is just a giant pile of stuff, things, objects, apples, tables, cats. But Wittgenstein says, nope, that's not it. The world isn't the sum of its things, it's the totality of its facts. A fact isn't just a thing, like a table. A fact is that the table is in the kitchen. It's all about the relationships between things.
And the most fundamental building blocks of this reality? He calls them atomic facts. Just think of them as the simplest possible states of being. Objects, he says, they hang one in another, like the links of a chain. It's that arrangement, that specific way things are connected, that's the real bedrock of reality.
Okay, so let's make this real. Take a super simple sentence, a statement of fact. The record is on the player. Pretty basic. We've got two objects here, the record and the player. And we have a specific relationship. One is on the other. This sentence is our attempt to capture one of those atomic facts. And this is what leads us to Wittgenstein's big idea.
Get this, he says a sentence, or a proposition, isn't just a label we stick on a fact. No, it's a picture of that fact. It's a model. The way the words record and player are structured in the sentence is meant to mirror the way the actual record and player are arranged in the real world. The sentence shares a structure with reality itself.
Now, I know what you're thinking. A sentence doesn't look like a picture. But Wittgenstein wants us to think about the word picture in a much broader way. For instance, a musical score doesn't look like a symphony, does it? But it represents it perfectly. The grooves on a vinyl record don't look like music, but they contain its entire structure. The key, the absolute key, is that they all share a common logical structure with the thing they represent. That's what makes something a picture.
Okay, maybe the best way to get our heads around this whole thing is with an analogy Wittgenstein really liked. Language is like a map of reality. This one idea just perfectly captures his whole theory.
So think about it. On a map, you have features, cities, rivers, mountains. In language, you have objects. On the map, you've got names for all those features. In language, we have names for all our objects. But here's the most important part. The way the names are arranged on the map, their spatial relationship, mirrors the actual arrangement of those cities and rivers in the real world. It's the exact same idea as the structure of a sentence mirroring the structure of a fact.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a critical catch here. Wittgenstein wasn't really talking about our messy, everyday language. He was imagining a logically perfect language. This ideal language would be like a perfect one-to-one scale map of reality, where every single name corresponds to a real object. Our daily language, on the other hand, is, well, it's often a pretty imperfect map with scribbles and maybe even a few wrong turns on it.
And this brings up a really interesting problem that his theory actually solves quite neatly. What do we do with a name for something that isn't real? Take Odysseus. If our map has a name for a city that doesn't actually exist, what does that even mean?
So to tackle this, Wittgenstein uses the German word Bedeutung. All it really means is reference, the actual thing in the world a name points to. A name like table has Bedeutung, because, you can go point at a table. But a name like Odysseus, there's no one to point to. It lacks Bedeutung. And for Wittgenstein, in this super strict logical system, a name without a reference isn't really a name at all. It's just a meaningless noise.
So what does this all lead? To a really profound idea. Wittgenstein's vision is that language is way more than just a tool for chatting. It's the very framework of our reality. As he so beautifully puts it, the logical propositions describe the scaffolding of the world. They are the beams and the joints that hold our entire conceptual universe together.
So, the big takeaway is this. Our ability to even think about the world, to form thoughts that are true or false, it all depends on the logical structure our language gives us. Language doesn't just paint a picture of the world for us, it builds the entire art gallery where those pictures can even be hung. It literally sets the limits of what we can think.
And that leaves us with this one last incredible question to chew on. If language really is the blueprint, if it sets the rules for what is and isn't a possible fact, what lies outside of those lines? What ideas, what truths might exist that we simply can't picture or can't even say because they don't fit into our logical scaffolding? In other words, what can't be drawn?